So good evening. First of all, I would like to say that I very much appreciate to be here tonight and to be here together with Deputy Prime Minister Didier Reynders and also with General Denis Mercier, because I think that reflects the importance of this NATO-Industry Forum, and we have high-level participation. We have higher level participation than we have ever had at these kind of conferences before, and that reflects the importance of cooperation between the industry and NATO, and I have underlined myself many times the importance of strengthening the cooperation between NATO and the defense industry. We are totally dependent on a strong defense industry, a strong European defense industry, a strong North American defense industry, and this industry has provided NATO with the best equipment and the most modern capabilities over decades. But we have to make sure that that's also the case in the future. At the same time, of course, what NATO does is important for the industry. Because NATO plays a key role in deciding how much we spend on defense, on what we spend and how we spend. And all of this is, of course, of great importance for the industry. And therefore, I welcome the fact that NATO made the decision in September 2014 to increase defense spending. And now we are delivering. Defense spending is going up in Europe. 2014 was the first year in many years where we saw increased defense spending across Europe and in Canada. This matters if all those NATO allies that spend less than 2% of GDP on defense invested 2% of GDP in defense, that would account for $100 billion US, which is roughly the same amount as the total defense spending of UK and France combined. Then, of course, NATO is important when it comes to on what we invest and on what we spend. NATO defense planning process, but also our efforts to spend 20% of total defense budgets on investments is key. And then NATO plays a role as a platform to create multinational cooperation, to make sure that NATO allies work more closely together. We have some common funded projects, the AWACS of course, but also the successor after AWACS, Alliance Ground Surveillance and other common projects. One of the issues where we are going to work more closely with the European Union is also on capabilities, and I welcome very much the strong commitment of the European Union to strengthen European defense and to work more closely with NATO. And I'm looking forward to meet with High Representative Federica Mogherini and also Commissioner Bieniekowska later on, reflecting the strong cooperation between NATO and the European Union. Then I give the floor to you, Didier.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be with you and with Secretary General of the NATO, but also General Mercier. I want just to say that it's a pleasure for Belgium to welcome NATO in Brussels. It's a tradition because we have the seat of NATO here in Brussels. But it's a very specific day for the transatlantic alliance. We have sent our congratulations to the new President of the United States of America. And we will organize together with the NATO maybe a first visit in Brussels next year for a combined visit to the NATO, but also in the NATO to the new headquarters of NATO. It was decided during the last summit to organize a specific summit in Brussels next year with the new President of the US. The second element that I want to say that, of course, we need to discuss more and more with the industry, and I'm very pleased to see that it was possible to organize that with the defense industry from the US, but we try to do the same in Europe. And in the near future, it will be our task to invest more in defense. We have said that during many meetings in the NATO. I'm sure that it's a real duty for the European member states of the NATO to do more in comparison with the situation now with the US is leading the expenditure process in the NATO and in general terms in defense. But if we need to do that, first we need to do that in Belgium, and I'm very pleased to confirm that we have decided to invest 9 billion euros to have a modernization of our Air Force, but also the Navy in Belgium, and we try to do that in a good collaboration with some partners. I'm thinking about the Navy in collaboration with the Netherlands, and I'm sure that we need to have more and more collaborations among the different European member states of the NATO. We will continue to push pressure to have a better collaboration, and it's the same situation now with the European Union. I know that with Federica Mogherini there are very good relations and we have had a lot of meetings, but it's important to see a good collaboration between NATO and the European Union. And I want just to conclude saying that in the context with the industry, I'm sure on one thing. If it's possible one day to have maybe a European defense, but before that, a real European pillar inside the NATO, it will be just possible if we have also an evolution to a European defense industry. Without a real evolution to a European defense industry, so with real collaboration and maybe with some champions in industry, like we have had in the civil aviation with Airbus, without such an evolution to a real European military industry and defense industry, it will be very difficult to enhance the capacity to organize not only collaboration, but a real European pillar in the NATO in collaboration with the US. So we will work on that, and I'm very pleased to see that it was a very intensive day about that, to explain the situation between the NATO and the industry, but I'm sure that the next step will be to have such a same organization with a more close cooperation between the different industries in Europe about defense. Thank you.
General, please.
Thank you, and I would like to thank again you, Minister Reynders, for the outstanding organization Belgium has provided us to make this NATO-Industry Forum a success, and for opening this great Palace of Egmont, which offers the best venue for this event. This event was created in 2013 as a NATO Industry Day, and it became quite quickly a NATO Industry Forum, enlarging the perspective of the discussion. And we wanted this year to move a step forward and to have a high level of ambition, and this is why we have asked the Belgian authorities if they could organize it here. And thanks to this huge commitment, we could have today a huge level of participation, with 35 countries present, more than 80 companies, including more than 10 of the highest industrial companies we can find in the Euro-Atlantic area. And just what we discussed today, we discussed innovation mainly, among other things. And innovation, we recognize that it's not only a technology aspect. The innovation comes with the way we can have game changers in our operational concept that could change the way we conduct warfare, and what are the technological aspects of this concept, and even what would be the consequences on the education process for our people. And we have huge discussion in this area, recognizing that this is our role to explain the future concept and how we see these game changers in the future of warfare. And this is a two-way approach, so the industry can give us their perspective and how they can bring technological innovation to support this concept. And this is why we need to have a huge partnership, especially with 1M, which is for our alliance, to keep the edge against any kind of adversary in the future. So basically, this is what we did today. We had very lively, candid discussions with all these companies, and I think that we will have a lot of outcomes from this forum.
Thank you. We have literally just a few minutes for questions. We'll start with Reuters. I think you just...
We are monitoring the deployment of the Russian aircraft group Kuznetsov, and we do that, of course, as we always do, in a responsible way. This is something we have done many times before, and Russia has, of course, the right to operate in international waters. The unusual thing this time is that Russia has deployed the aircraft carrier group to the Eastern Mediterranean to be part of a combat operation against targets in Syria. And that is, of course, something which is of great concern, because we have seen that there has been a significant Russian buildup in Syria, and they have conducted many airstrikes, indiscriminate airstrikes. Also, many civilians have been killed. So anything that can add to that capacity is, of course, a reason for concern. But we monitor in the normal way deployment of Russian ships, carrier group, and we do that in a responsible way.
For your question is, in Warsaw it was decided to have an enhanced presence in the east and to look at how NATO can enhance its projection of stability. And there were a lot of measures decided in Warsaw, but behind these measures there is something which is very important, is to look at the NATO defense planning process and the procurement of the necessary capability to meet all challenges and to sustain that in the long term. And NATO has probably focused in the past too much on expeditionary operation, and we are renewing now with more high-end capabilities, especially those capabilities that are necessary to counter anti-access area denial systems, which requires a higher level of integration of our own capabilities. And what is at stake, and we discussed that today, is the interoperability of all these systems if we want to have a higher level of integration, which is the key of success against this kind of systems.
Okay. Bruxelles 2.
Nicolas Groviret de B2 and Sud-Ouest. To the Minister Reynders, could you explain on the your European pillar inside NATO? What is you said this objective is to strengthen, but how it could be in practice, in concrete terms?
It's possible to work on that in different ways. First of all, and it was said by the Secretary General, we have more and more close contacts between the NATO and the European Union, and it's very important to try to manage together some activities between the NATO and the European Union. But the second element, that we have started a lot of collaborations among different defense departments in different member states of the NATO and of the European Union. I mean, to give an example, I said the Navy between Belgium and Netherlands, but there are many other collaboration and close collaboration between different partners. And we have decided inside the European Union, but also inside the NATO, to do more on that. So to have more and more close cooperation, and sometimes to have the same kind of equipment, the same kind of organization like we have with the Netherlands for the moment from the Belgian point of view. And the third element, of course, you know that after the referendum in the UK, it's maybe easier to think about close collaboration inside the NATO than later inside the European Union, because without UK, after the Brexit in the European Union, it will be more difficult to organize that. And in the first step, I'm sure that it's better to think about a real collaboration among not only the members of the European Union, but later the members of the European Union and also UK. But I'm thinking also about Norway, to give another example. You know the country, and it's quite important to do the same also with a country outside of the European Union. So it's a real European pillar. So the capacity to do that with the European Union, between different member states, but also with a vision of a pillar with all the European partners inside the NATO, within or without the European Union.
Thank you very much. This concludes this short press point.
Sorry.